What's up, guys? Just invited. There he is. What's up, Rick?
How's it going, guys?
All right, guys, welcome in. Already got a bunch of people in here, so I hate when they take forever to get started on these lives, so we're just gonna hop right into it. Well, just want to start by saying thanks so much, everyone, for hopping on. Happy 4th of July tomorrow. Lots of exciting stuff going on this week. We're going to try to do this more regularly with members who have been doing well with us at UET, people who I personally did not know prior to our mastermind program, things of that nature. So, Rick, we'll start with just a few questions. I'm sure followers and people on this call would love to hear just a brief intro of who you are, where you're located, if you had previous experience trading, getting into the mastermind, if you knew me beforehand. Just kind of give us a quick intro on yourself.
Sure. So I live in Queen Creek, Arizona. 53 solid years old. Never had any training, never any stock market experience whatsoever, other than, during COVID, messed around with Robinhood for
Yep.
chasing that Dogecoin. But, basically, here's the story is I'm in air conditioning here in Arizona. It's big during the summer, and we own a couple of Airbnbs here in Arizona, and I manage several others for my friends. But I needed to find something to fill my time, because I've gotten the Airbnbs down to, it's on autopilot, pretty much, management of it. And so in air conditioning, from April to September, I'm busy, but other than that, you don't need air conditioning in Arizona,
right,
in the wintertime. So my wife she's my amazing, smart wife. She's a nurse practitioner, and one of her patients traded Forex. And my wife was like, that sounds something that might interest you, Rick. Why don't you look into it? So I looked into it, and it really wasn't my cup of tea. But it intrigued me. So I started browsing the internet and ran across Uncommon Education and your free, a free little video or free lessons. So I hopped on those, took those immediately, and immediately just clicked with me, going, yeah, this is what I've been looking for a long time. And took those courses, immediately signed up, and for a few weeks did the courses. My wife kept saying, hey, when are you going to start trading? And I'm like, I don't think I'm ready to trade yet. I need to learn some more. Then I finally started paper trading. Started making $2 a day, and I was like, yeah, man, this is pretty kind of cool. and finally broke into, started trading, and it's been all fun ever since.
That's awesome. I love the story, right? And I think what's cool is, like you say, kind of messed around during COVID, just like probably everyone on this chat did, of Robinhood, and that maybe even during the GameStop craze. But again, what's crazy is, I had never met you, right? Previous to you joining Uncommon, you found us through social media, internet, however it was, which is the case with a lot of the people who are listening here. So again, this is a member, guys, who I did not know previous. And remind me, Rick, did you start out as a premium member and then join the mastermind after, or did you jump right into the mastermind?
So premium member for sure. I started seeing some early success. I would trade, when the market opened, and I'd make $20, and I'd run into the bathroom and show my wife as she was getting ready for the work. I'm like, hey, I made $20 today. just ripping. And then the first mastermind was maybe a month or two after I started. And I still was learning, and I didn't really understand what the mastermind was at that point. It intrigued me because I saw, on the Discord, how many people were making just ridiculous amounts of money every day. But at that point, my account might have had $1,500 in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was making $20 to $30 a day. So I just couldn't, I don't know. At that point, I couldn't justify the cost. After the first of the year, I started averaging myself, $100 to $200 a day. And that's when Driggs started posting the boy is, he's a market genius.
He's a machine.
He's a machine. And so, knowing that that's kind of where I wanted to head, it made a lot of sense for me to join the mastermind, which was in February.
Cool.
And so, yeah.
That's great. So a lot of you probably have questions. We will have a Q&A where you can ask myself and Rick any questions here in just a sec. But let's go through a few kind of factual pieces here. So you took the February mastermind, and since then, I believe you have only had 5 red days. Is that still the case? Still correct?
Yep, that's still correct.
Cool.
I've had some close ones,
Yep.
But green is green, whether it's $1 or $2 or 2,000, it's green.
Absolutely. So that in itself is amazing. And I think what's cool about our strategies, for those who are listening at Uncommon Education, like, we really do have high win rate strategies, especially if you're disciplined. I think one thing that I've noticed talking with Rick that he's so good at is he just waits for the strategy to present itself. He never alters it. He never changes. His game plan is pretty dialed in. We'll talk about that here in a second. But this morning, you had a successful morning. How much did you make this morning, Rick?
I think a little under 700, 650 right there.
Yeah, right around 650. So what's cool, guys, is, he shared, right? Made $2 in a day, right? Then started making $20 in a day. Then started making a couple $100 a day. And now, honestly, I would say, Rick, your average, you're probably between 700 to 2,000 a day. That's give or take roughly what we see come through.
Yeah.
And how long do you trade each morning? How, on average, would you say is your time on the screen?
30 minutes tops, sometimes 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So 30 minutes tops, right? That's very much in line with our strategies that we teach. And I think that's what's cool, right? Is that's what we teach. Hour or less a day. Again, for me, huge hobbyist. I know Rick is as well. He likes to, have his time throughout the day. So awesome. Yep, we're doing options here. Okay, a few other questions. So to be making anywhere from 700 to 2,000 a day, how much is in your trading account now? You'd mentioned that you were trading with about $1,500. To see those types of results, how much is in your trading account?
I have 15,000 in there now.
Cool.
But I will tell you, I escort my profits out every day.
Yep. 100%. And you know what's funny, guys? Those of you who know and are in Uncommon, that's what I do, right? Every single day I make money, I pull profits. And we'll talk about that here in a second, why that's so crucial. But the thing, guys, I want to just illustrate here is $15,000 to be making, let's say, an average of, even $1,000 a day. That equates to $250,000 a year, right? Like I think people need to understand that I mean, we're literally talking $250,000 with a $15,000 account balance, right? And I talk about this all the time. I feel like for me, when I say things, people are like, oh yeah, but that's Jeremy or whatever. And so it's cool to see, right? An actual member who's gone through the program. Someone just asked, what's your average position size? And what we teach at Uncommon Education is 10% of your account per trade, but we are not risking that full 10%. That's just the amount that we enter the trade with. And then we're, seeing anywhere from, 20 to 60% returns on winners and 10, 15, maybe 20% on the losing trades. Is that in line, position size, Rick, with what you've been doing?
Yeah, on average. I mean, there's some times when you see a A+ setup, you might go a little bit bigger when you're just, in the zone and super confident that this stock has no choice but to go in that direction. You might upsize a little bit. But like yesterday, AMD, I played first candle with a smaller position size than I tried to do. I bought the wrong contract.
Okay, yep.
But I went in with like $1,200 and made $900 off of that $1,200.
Wild.
I mean, that's stupid money.
So almost 100% return on the money invested within that
Yeah,
first real 5 minutes. And I
it
remember it was
was
a massive
it was
gamble.
it was less than 5 minutes. It was might have been 2 minutes because I got out. I just was like, all right, I'm not going to be greedy. I'm not going to see it flush.
Yeah, no, that's so smart. So this is cool, guys. Again, just brief recap. Anyone coming in? Rick took our February mastermind. He's averaging, let's call it $1,000 a day, anywhere from 700 to 2,000. He trades with a $15,000 account, and he has only had 5 losing days since February. So one question, and I'm going to ask a few questions now, and then again, guys, if you're listening, we will open it up to a Q&A to everyone here in just a minute. But I think there's a few questions that people have, right, who join Uncommon. We even talked about this when you called me on the golf course the other day. A lot of people ask how are you able to be so consistent, right? I think for me, it's really easy to kind of establish where my consistency comes from, and that's just 8 years of trading, right? Like once you've done it that long, you really can start to be consistent with these things. But again, you take the mastermind in February, had maybe a few months prior. What would you say from a consistency standpoint has helped you the most on a day-to-day basis? Is it your morning routine? Is it the long-term mindset? What would you say?
I think it's all of those. Definitely, I have a morning routine, it's standard. I used to love to sleep, but I cannot sleep past 5:15 a.m. these days. It's just because I want to play the market.
Yeah.
So I definitely have a routine, which is important to me. Anytime that I feel like every time that I don't do my routine, it's not a good day. It's not as good day as others. So my routine is get up, make my coffee, sit in front of the computer, open up my Thinkorswim, and and I've told you, Jeremy, I play 2 or 3 different stocks almost exclusively. It's AMD, it's Tesla, and Nvidia. Sometimes I'll go with Meta or Apple, but those I feel like I'm in the zone with those guys, and they figured out their personalities. But I mark out the pre-market high, pre-market low for each one of them, and I play off of those. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how it's looking 5 to 10 minutes before the market opens, I may play first candle. If it looks janky or not fun to me, I'll sit back and wait until those levels get reacted to. And sometimes it's 5 minutes. Sometimes I need to wait 30 minutes. So I was telling you, Jeremy, it's still a learning process, but I think because I'm at my age where I'm patient, I'm okay with either missing a move or playing a bad move and getting out of it real quick. It doesn't affect me that much because I've got a strategy for later in the day that is almost guaranteed to at least make some money, not as much as the first 15, 20 minutes of volatility, but after 30 minutes, I'll mark the high of the day and low of the day. And if it breaks either one of those levels, I'll play that until the next support or resistance level. And I'm able to do that because I can sit around and watch it. Some people can't, and that's fine. Something you have to develop. But I also, one of my mindsets every morning is, and Jeremy has laid out these numbers. If you make $400 a day for the 252 trading days a year, that is $100,000. So you have to be okay with, I'm okay with 100 grand of working 30 minutes or less a day.
Right.
I mean, you almost be silly to think that that's not enough, but I'm okay with that. So if I keep that in mind, I'm okay with getting up and going away from the computer and being okay with just $400. Lately, it's been a lot more than that. So, but that's my mindset, is like, I'm all right to walk away, turn off the computer, and go enjoy the rest of the day.
That's so good. Few things from that, guys, that are just incredible. Number one is he's so right, and anyone who's traded options before knows how easy it is to make $400, right? Like that's the truth. Like you can do that with such little amounts of money. But are you willing to do that every day for the course of a year? No, because then what happens is you start getting greedy, you start trying to push the envelope. And one thing that Rick has, I feel like, that is like one of the best characteristics of a day trader, even keeled, right? Chill as a cucumber. Honestly, it's just a great temperament where it's a great day. He's not getting too, up or too excited. Bad day, he's never getting too down or too sad or too, whatever you want to call it. So I just feel like the end of the day, what Rick does is he trades a system, he trades the setups that he likes, and he trades three stocks, right? And he is eliminating variables that could cause problems. I love him describing first candles. So for those asking about strategies, we have a first candle strategy which he implements and uses, and then he's playing our BRC, RBR, and bounce reject, right? And it's an interaction with key levels, all of which we go fully into as part of our course content, both Uncommon 2.0 and our VIP Live Mastermind. So absolutely just incredible to hear, and I love talking with you about it. It's you just make it seem so simple, and you really are the epitome of what we try to teach here, is that it is simple, right? We make it hard on ourselves, and so ultimately you kind of just need to get out of your own way in a lot of instances of just staying simple with strategies, staying simple with the stocks. So last question I have, and then we'll open it up for you guys to ask Rick, and then Rick, if you want me to chime in on any of the answers, I'm happy to. But my last question for you is, anyone who is in the community right now that is struggling to find success, or anyone who is wanting to kind of get into trading but has fears or hesitations, where you're at now, kind of starting to find your groove and get into it, what would be your best advice that you could give to someone who has either just started or is trying to get into it, and how to approach it? What would your advice be?
Keep it simple. Keep it just so simple. I'm not ever going to be the guy that studies the market. I'm not going to, I see all these terms, Fibonacci and Italian. I'm not going to be that guy that, I keep it simple every stinking day. And it's like clockwork. I mark those levels and I play those levels, and that's it. I'm not going to read about what Tesla is going to do in 6 months. I could care less what it does in 6 months. I want to know what it's going to do in the next 30 seconds every morning. And that's it. So if you're struggling, just stop overthinking and keep it simple. And I promise you that your losses will be much smaller, but your profits will be much bigger if you stop overthinking and just play, whether they're your potential plays on Uncommon, Jeremy, or stuff that you map out yourself. That's what I do. I map out my own charts every morning, and I told Jeremy, I'm like, when he posts his potential plays, ours are almost always identical. But that's what you learn. That's what you learn in Uncommon, is keep it simple, play these levels, and if you do, you'll be successful. If you aren't being successful, you're not doing what we're teaching. That's plain and simple. Now, you also have to fight your own demons. Everybody wants to have more money. Everybody wants to get rich quick, and you can with the stock market. I think if you play it right, you're not going to make $1 million in a day. You might if you have 10 million in your account,
Right.
if you play these strategies, but who does that? Not me. I'm okay with where I'm at now, and eventually I'll move my account up. But that, when Jeremy and I've talked, if you move your account up a little bit higher, it's a whole different game. So you got to prepare yourself to step up. I'm almost there, but maybe another few months. Well, but I'm okay with where I'm at profit wise.
Absolutely. And again, you guys can just hear, right, the patience that Rick is displaying, right? He's like, yeah, I haven't had a losing day or I've only had 5 losing days since February, and I need another month or two before I start increasing my position size. We have members, they go 2 days in a row of winning. They're like, yeah, I'm going to triple my position size. It's just such a lack of patience with most people in trading. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Okay, guys. Well, what we'll do, go ahead and ask any questions you have for Rick. What I'll do, Rick, is I'll kind of go through and I'll read off the questions as they come through. If you want me to chime in at all, I can. But we'll turn it over to you guys. Again, this is Rick, previous mastermind member, killing it now, making roughly 1,000 to 1,200 a day average. He did not know me before joining, found me on the internet through social media, just like most of you did, was a premium member, started small, and is now, performing at a high level. So yeah, let's get a few questions that come through here. Okay. So Chevy of Orange, thanks for all your great advice giving me, Rick. Awesome. How much did you invest for your very first trade, Rick?
So I opened my account with $1,500.
Cool.
And so, I mean, I don't remember my first trade exactly, but I'm sure I might have bought 2 contracts for $150 and was scared to death.
Shaking, right? Shaking on that first trade.
Palms were sweaty. And, if you think about $150, not a big deal to trade with, but when you haven't done it, it's brutal.
Oh,
my palms
100%.
are sweaty thinking about it right now. So
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. That's great. Next question. Are you fairly consistent with just finding key levels from previous day high lows, or do you go back further? So maybe just a quick 30-second, what levels you're identifying and how far you go back time frame wise to identify those levels.
So on Mondays, I do previous day highs and previous day lows and pre-market highs and pre-market lows. I'll mark those out on Mondays, but during the week, I'm almost strictly pre-market highs and pre-market lows. That's all I'm really worried about. Every now and then, when a fantastic wedge is forming, I'll mark those out, but that's not my comfort zone. My comfort zone is pre-market high and pre-market low. I've had some good success at the wedges, but that right now, that's not my strong suit.
Exactly. And you're trying to keep it simple, and that is as simple as it gets, right? And those levels are our staple levels here at Uncommon Education. Rick, did you go full-time trading from Wingman Chris?
Well, I mean, I guess I don't have a job, so
he is an unemployed man.
I mean, I work in air conditioning in the summertime here, but that's on call, and I manage Airbnb properties, so I don't have an office. But calling what I do full time is kind of silly because I'm here. The market opens at 6:30 a.m. and I am back in bed by 7. So if you want to call that full time, yeah, I do it every day.
Well, that's what's so funny, Rick, because I tell people, even me, I'm like, yeah, I mean, technically, I guess I'm full-time day trading and have been for a number of years, but yeah, I mean, I only do it for such a short amount of time. I feel I'm not doing it justice by calling it full-time trading. I like that. It's you do it every day.
I saw that
another question.
I saw that one question about what do I do during some of the hard times.
Yeah, so there's a few questions before I just want to recap. So do you take your profits home monthly, or how often do you withdraw it? He already answered this, guys. Every single day he pulls profits. That's what we teach at Uncommon. When you have profits sitting around, it's so easy to get rid of them and lose it because you think it's not real money. So we encourage pulling profits literally as frequently as you can for Rick and myself and lots of others. It's every day. Another question before we go into some of the others. How long does the mastermind take? It's a 5-week program, and a little spoiler for everyone on this call, September is our last one of the year. We're not going to do one before the end of the year after September. So if you want to take part in what we're talking about here, September, it's probably going to be like 23rd, 24th. That's going to be our last mastermind of the year. Okay, so let's go. One quick question before we go to the one you were just looking at, Rick. Okay. What's your routine when incurring a losing trade?
Really, as soon as it defies the reason I entered is when I get out. So if I'm playing first candle and I see it go, you know, typically, like I said, my first two candles are Tesla or AMD, and I know its personality when it starts to go the wrong way. And as soon as I see that, and it's typically a long wick that I don't like, I'll get out, because then I'm like, oh, Ricky G, you read that wrong. And now I've read it, and that's because I've experienced that taste of losing that, and I held on to it too long. So, you know what, when you go in and you're thinking you're up all of a sudden $300 in the first 10 seconds, and the next 15 seconds you're minus 450, it's not a good taste. And Jeremy's I think you're a little lagging right now, but those are the things. As soon as it breaks my structure, I get out.
Perfect. That's perfect. And I think that what it comes down to, guys, is I think that Rick, you epitomize one of my favorite quotes about day trading, which is Rick is extremely optimistic when he's in a winning trade, right? Like when he's in a winning trade, he will let it continue to ride. And like we just talked about yesterday, he caught nearly a 100% move on AMD, right? But on the flip side, he is very pessimistic when he's in a losing trade. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm in a winning trade. Like this is looking good. Okay, let's keep riding it. Let's kind of move that stop up. But when he's in a losing trade or something looks fishy or, you know, something looks sketch or off, he's like, nope, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yep.
And that is actually the opposite with most traders. Most traders, they're really scared when they're in a winning trade, so they pull profits really quick. And then they'll, you know, try to convince themselves that a losing trade is going to turn around and come back. So that's an awesome, awesome mindset that Rick has there. Let's see, a few other questions. What mental hurdle was hardest for you when you started using more money to trade, like increasing position size?
Greed, FOMO. Those were the hard part about watching. In our Discord, we have a profits channel, and some people post some crazy profits, and it's fun, and I'm proud of them, and it's fantastic. But you know, you start mentally spending that money. You know, you see some of our guys making 11,000, you know, before you even post a profit at 7 a.m. and you're like, gosh, I could buy 2 jet skis for that. You know? And so you have to, you know, you don't know their story, you don't know what they're trading with, but you see that dollar amount, and that's the big. You've got to, you know, stay in your lane. You know, I've got 15,000 in there, and I think making 400 to 2,000 a day is fantastic. I can't do that anywhere else. And if you keep that mindset and just be mentally okay with and making that kind of money and being happy for somebody else who's making ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, I'm sure that person making $11,000 a day looks at somebody else who's making 200 to 300,000 a day and wishes they could be that person. So stay in your lane, and you could get there if you want to get there. You just have to grow yourself to be able to get to that point.
And I think what I love so much, Rick, about what you just said is a huge human flaw is jealousy, right? Huge human flaw is this kind of FOMO, jealous nature. And again, one thing that I think credit to you and where you found your success is you find joy and happiness in seeing those profits, and that's great, that's cool. But for me, this is what I'm doing. Here's where I'm living. Here's where I'm happy. Here's the lane I'm trying to stay in. And I think that so many times, and I talk about this all the time, day trading, and especially our community, it's all about the abundant mentality, right? Like I am just as happy for the guy who posts his first $24 profit as I am the guy who, you know, like my buddy last week who made 65,000 and was able to join a country club here in Utah, right? He made 65,000 in a week, right? But it's different phases of life, different amount they're trading with, and both are implementing the strategies and improving and growing, which is really, really cool. Another quick question here. Let's see. Do you pull up SPY and QQQ? Do you pay any attention to those when you're in your trades, Rick?
sometimes on Fridays, maybe. I when I do it, I get distracted by it,
Right.
honestly, because I'm so laser focused on my levels. I, regardless of what Spire QQQ is doing, I'm only playing off the levels that I marked out with those specific stocks. So, but you know, if you have them, they typically will mimic each other. But you know, sometimes NVIDIA will go differently than what Spire QQ does, and you get burned if you're looking at, you know, what Spire and QQQ are doing based off of what you're trying to do. So
100%.
that goes back to my keep it simple. I did do that for a little while, but I wasn't comfortable with it, and I wasn't being very successful with it, so I stopped.
Well, it kind of splits your attention, right? And whenever your attention's split, it can be tough. We're getting a few questions about like cost of memberships, what is included in our program. Anyone who has questions about Uncommon Education, two things. Number one, you can head to uncommoneducationtrading.com and you can see all that is included, price, cost with 2.0, with our VIP mastermind, things of that nature. And then, yeah, if you have questions and want to chat to me, shoot me a DM on this page and we'll reach out to you from there. Another quick question. You teach how to get funded accounts, correct? No, we don't use funded accounts. That's futures trading. We are introducing a futures aspect, but we trade options. So that's not us right now. We're using our own capital. And then if anyone has questions about Rick and kind of his backstory, go back and review this video after we close it out, because we've already answered a bunch of these questions. Really good question here, Rick. Do you trade the 5-minute time frame while simultaneously looking at the 1 minute, or do you trade 1 minute or 5 minute? Which time frame are you trading with?
I am solely on 5 minute. Even on my first candle, I'm not comfortable doing the 1 minute. I tried to do it, and it's not. I had to stay in my lane, and
Yep.
I'm sticking with the 5 minute. So you know, when I chart out, like if I'm on a Sunday night and I'm charting some things out, I'll go back to even 30-minute or 1 day time frames to chart some things out, just because sometimes I can't see the pricing that I want to see on a 5 minute.
Right.
But typically I'm a 5 minute guy, and go with that 1 minute. Yeah, for scalping, if you're comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it. It moves too fast. I don't like it.
Yeah. No, and it's funny. I've messed around with the 1 minute a lot, and I like it in certain examples, but I do best with first candle strategy just on the 5 minute as well. Just seeing price action on the 5 minute. 1 minute, I feel like my brain doesn't move fast enough to compute what's happening on the 1 minute, just because I only trade the 5 minute for so long. So I totally relate to that and understand that. We're going to wrap it up here in just a second. I want to keep this to about 30 minutes. Really, really appreciate Rick's time on here, guys, and these questions have been awesome. Maybe one or two more questions. One, Rick, which strategy do you feel most comfortable with? I guess within Uncommon, Rick, and the levels you're using, is it typically breaks of levels? Is it more the bounce reject? First candle? What one or two strategies are you most comfortable with?
Number one, our BRC strategy, break, retest, confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
So to break it down simply for, you know, you guys, you know, if let's say pre-market high, let's say my AMD is approaching my pre-market high and it closes above that pre-market high. Second candle dips back down and tests that level that stays above. And then as that 5 minute candle starts to close out, it starts to rise, I'm hopping in. And because I know in my experience that thing's about to rocket ship off of that level. Mm-hmm. So I'll play that. Secondarily will be a bounce off of that. A pre-market low is what I'll play it off of. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge player of puts unless that's the trend. Trend is your friend, right, Jeremy?
Absolutely. Always trade the trend, baby. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I'll play puts that way, but typically 90% it's a BRC play,
Cool.
or first candle. That's about it.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well,
My
okay,
my
guys.
my daughter just joined, so I just want to say hi.
Oh,
Hi, Bugger.
perfect. Thank you. Great shout out there, fam on. I know. I think I saw my dad in here at one point. My wife might have been in here as well. So it's a family. It's a family gathering.
Yeah.
Well, guys, last question I have for Rick here. So again, everyone who is listening to this, September is our last mastermind of the year. I will not be doing another one. Just looking at, timing. I'm going to Argentina in November, Christmas, holidays, right? All these different things. This will be the last mastermind, okay, starting in September. So, Rick, first off, just want to say thank you so much for being here. Your, input's been invaluable. For you, if people are considering the mastermind, considering diving in, again, as someone who did not know me before signing up, found me through social media, what would you recommend, or what feedback would you have about our mastermind program, for anyone who may be interested?
I would say that it would be, I'm always a huge fan of investing in yourself, and if you truly love doing this, this investment will pay for itself and then some, because the freedom that you will get for the rest of your life, because it's like what, tennis or golf, you can trade for the rest of your life just like you can play golf or tennis the rest of your life. You can do it in Mexico, you can do it in Italy, you can do it in France, you can do it from your phone. And I mean, for me, the mastermind paid for itself in about 2 weeks in profits. And the benefit is you're a lifelong member of Uncommon, and you can always, like, I've taken 2 masterminds now.
Mm-hmm.
and you can take them again and again and again, and as much as you want. So if you're a big fan of investing in yourself and paying yourself, and you like doing this, and you don't want to go to an office job, I mean, this is your one-way ticket.
Yep.
So don't be afraid, but commit yourself to doing it, and commit yourself to following the strategies, and you won't have much choice but being successful.
That is a great, awesome recommendation. Guys, let's throw some fire, some hearts, some emojis in the chat for our guy Rick. Seriously, Rick, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, out of your life, to answer some questions from our followers. I know that they are going to benefit greatly from this. Guys, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to myself. If you want to see Rick's almost daily profits in our profits channel, join Uncommon. And if anything else, guys, if you look at myself, you look at Rick, we'll be the first two to tell you that neither of us are anything special. We're just guys who enjoy, the finer things in life, as far as freedom and golf and fishing and, spending time with loved ones. I mean, that's really it. And this is a great tool and a great avenue to help get there. On a personal note, Rick, seeing your success has been awesome. It's honestly why I love doing like what I do within Uncommon, is getting to meet people like yourself and see such huge, changes occur, from the skill set standpoint. And there's so many others, guys, that we're going to be bringing on. We're going to kind of make this a weekly deal where we're bringing members on that you guys can chat with. But thanks again, Rick. Again, really, really appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out and let me know. So thanks, Rick.
Thanks, guys. Have fun. Have a good day.
Happy 4th, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.